Imagine your family history reduced to a pile of curling, blackened paper. Crucial records can vanish in the time it takes to strike a match. On July 12, 1973, that scenario unfolded at a massive scale when fire broke out on the 6th floor of the National Personnel Records Center. The heat incinerated millions of irreplaceable military files. For many veterans, the only official evidence of their individual legacies was turned to ash before the department could even begin an evacuation. This destruction highlights a major vulnerability in how we store the past. We assume history is a permanent physical structure, yet it is often just one accident away from being erased. The historical record is a precarious, fragile ledger, defined not by the total sum of what happened, but by the slim margin of what managed to survive. On July 12, 1493, the Nuremberg Chronicle was published. Producing a book this intricate required thousands of hours of manual labor, from carving woodcuts to hand-setting every line of type. Nearly a century later, on July 12, 1580, the Ostrog Bible was completed, marking a similar milestone for early Slavic printing and cultural preservation. Before digital backups, mass physical reproduction was the only way to make knowledge durable. Creating hundreds of identical copies meant that even if one library was destroyed, the records would endure in another. The printing press was more than a tool for literacy. It was a defensive technology designed to outlast the natural erasure of history. But the same ledger that humanity works so hard to build can be intentionally targeted. On July 12, 1562, Bishop Diego de Landa began a systematic campaign to dismantle the cultural memory of the Maya. Landa ordered the burning of thousands of sacred Mayan books to break their connection to their identity. It takes decades to compile a cultural archive, but a conqueror can burn it to the ground in minutes. Only a tiny fraction of these manuscripts survived. Destroying a civilization's records is a weaponized tactic. By erasing the evidence of who a people were, those in power gain the ability to rewrite the narrative of who they are now. In the modern era, the physical fire has been replaced by the digital server. While this technology changes how we store data, the vulnerability of the record remains. On July 12, 2007, U.S. Apache helicopters carried out a controversial airstrike in Baghdad. The event was captured on a digital video record. Unlike the files lost in the 1973 fire, this recording wasn't destroyed. Instead, it was leaked to the internet by whistleblowers and shared globally. Digital records subvert traditional control because they can be duplicated endlessly and instantly. Once a file is copied across a global network, it becomes virtually impossible for any single institution to burn the evidence. This shifts the power dynamics of history. Institutions can no longer dictate the narrative when civilians can reproduce and distribute suppressed records to millions of people at once. Because history is built on what is saved, whether it was rescued from a fire or leaked from a secure server, the archive we see is inherently incomplete. This creates a distortion known as survivor bias. Our accepted historical narrative is often just the record of what managed to avoid the 1973 NPRC fire or escape the intentional purges of the 16th century. Every historical document is a survivor. It has persisted through accidents, through environmental decay, and active attempts at erasure to reach us. Recognizing the fragility of these archives forces us to realize that protecting our records today is the only way to ensure the people of tomorrow know our story at all.